Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. This is True Crime in the Morning. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. My friends call me Sleuth. Now, the real story today is about Janie Crosdell, a victim that goes by the name TJ, and some other unsolved cases in the surrounding Excelsior Springs, Missouri area, like Phoenix Caldon and Kelly Allen. But every once in a while, we need to focus in on the source and the reasons why these folks are going missing, right? We know people don't just vanish. And a lot of times they're taken by people like this here, Timothy Haslett, who is most likely a serial killer. So we are going to get into the details of this case and these cases here in just a few minutes. Looks like we have a 10-month member flex by Cindy. Thank you, Sleuth Crew and Sleuth Intuition. Blessed member here. Thank you so much. And also sponsoring today's live stream. I might be replay, but really glad you are covering this. This is one of those situations I just don't feel is covered enough. I look online, I look through social media. There's just not a whole lot of people talking about it. And it has everything that a true crime content creator would want to cover, right? Other unsolved crimes attached to it, this mysterious person, Timothy Haslett. I mean, we had a woman who came forward apparently who dated him for a few weeks and saying, hey, if there wasn't a live, and I quote, if there wasn't a live victim, I would have never thought in a million years that Timothy Haslett would be responsible for this. We hear this in a lot of cases, right? So what you can expect from today's live stream. So a woman, and I couldn't find any more information other than the initials TJ. That might be her nickname on the streets or from her family and friends. But apparently she escaped from what she called a dungeon, or what reporters referred to as a dungeon. Now, Timothy Haslett lived with his, I can't remember how old he was, but he seems to be like anywhere around the ages of 10 or 11, maybe even a little bit younger. He lived with his son while keeping these prisoners in his dungeon in a basement. Now, TJ escaped from his home when Timothy was giving his son a ride to school, ran down the street to a neighbor of Timothy. She had a collar around her neck. She was wearing a trash bag for clothing. She had ligature marks. And I believe she was basically crawling. And she said something like, if you don't help me, he's going to find me and he's going to kill me. And then when law enforcement showed up, she said this guy, Timothy, had just murdered her two friends and was in the process of killing her next. Well, one of the women that she reported as her friend was Janie Crosdell. So for some time, they were looking for Janie Crosdell. And she showed up about, I think, 100 miles away, found in a blue barrel in the Missouri River. So yeah, this is a very chilling story here. Good to see you, Christine. Jerry, what's up? 63 clocks. Connie, Melissa, Sparky, welcome. Thank you, Cindy. I mean, this is a really dark story here. You have this guy Timothy. From what we hear from his neighbors, he was just a quiet guy. Anybody that would try to engage with him, he would just kind of turn away, wouldn't make eye contact. That's kind of how I am. I'm not very neighborly. I don't trust people. I don't like to, if my neighbors come and ask for things, yes. Like the other day, somebody asked for a jigsaw. They brought it back broken. But whatever. That kind of stuff's cool, but I'm not the one for small talk. I don't like to inherit other people's problems. You start making friends with all these people. Then you end up with the situation like what happened with Echo Lloyd. She went out on her own, separated from her husband, and started making friends with everybody in her neighborhood. And then next thing you know, one out of the 10, right? Some creepy ass dude who is a prime suspect, and she is now missing. Echo is nowhere to be found. I don't want those kind of problems. I want to be neighborly, but it just reminds me of having a whole lot of friends. Just a pile of problems. I just like staying with my family, my tight knit little crew here. And once in a while we'll branch out. What's up, Don Spain? This case is in my neck of the woods and haven't heard any more news or anywhere. Yeah, this guy could have been kidnapping and killing girls in that area for some time. We're going to look real quick at a few of those cases. The case of Phoenix Colden. Well, that happened in December 18th, 2011. She vanished, was never seen again. All her belongings left behind, right? The telltale signs. Kelly Allen, she went missing March 13th, 2007. I think they actually recovered her vehicle. And then you have TJ, the victim who got away, claiming that he killed two of her friends, and they've only located one, which is Janie Crosdell. So let me get my screen up here. Right, this is Janie. I did find her Facebook. We'll take a look. She's got a really nice smile. Her family and friends quote her, are quoted as saying that she was adored and they miss her dearly. Here's when she was young. So yeah, for a while she was just missing, and law enforcement was hoping to glean some information about what was going on with TJ. What's going on, Doris? Yeah, it was like it could have taken off and could have gotten a lot of attention, but then all of a sudden it just died down. But there's a handful of women, specifically black women, who are missing around that area. This happened in Excelsior Springs, Missouri. So not in a hundred-mile radius, you got black women coming up missing like crazy, all kind of disappearing from the same area. The same area that TJ and Janie Crosdell were picked up from by Timothy Haslett. A lot of these women went missing around that area. Christine says, I remember the Phoenix case, but I never hear anyone talk about these cases. Yeah, we're going to touch on the Phoenix case and Kelly Allen. You know, so we ask ourselves all the time when we're covering these cases, how does this happen? You know, how did she go missing? Why would she leave her purse? Why would they do this? Why would they do that? Well, the answer is Timothy Haslett. That's an answer to a lot of these questions. That's what happens to these people. People like him. The dude had a dungeon in his basement. He took care of his son, who, according to court documents, he adored and loved dearly. His reason for living, I quote, taking care of his son, and he was charged relating to his son, I believe, too, for basically having him around all of this. So he's got a tortured dungeon downstairs, and he's taking care of his young child upstairs. It's like attending elementary school. Cindy says, seriously, sick shit. This is beyond sick shit. And remember, everybody that knows him and anybody that's come forward and had contact with him says, I never would have thought this in a million years. I just don't think it's always so obvious. I think sometimes it is, right? Like, oh, I always knew something was wrong with that person, or I always expected this to happen, but not always. What's up, Sparky? Cindy Hudson. D, good to see you. No, we're just getting started right now. So this happened back in October 7th of 2022 when TJ came running up the street and into the arms of Timothy's neighbor. Well, basically, she was crawling. We're going to read maybe one or two articles, and then the rest we're going to watch all local news, and then we'll start the discussion after that. But those are the basic, that's the overview for the most part. Let's see, I did throw together a few little maps that might help. Take a look at one real quick. So this would be Timothy's home. She took off running, made it to about right here. And the owner of 910 came to her rescue. They put her in a blanket, brought her inside, called law enforcement, gave her something to eat. And then I believe this neighbor over here, 234, and we'll look at his footage. He actually caught it through his window, him getting arrested. I don't know if it was 234 or 303. It's kind of like at an angle. So either at this angle or this angle. And this is where they found Janie Crosdell. She went missing. TJ was found here at 910 Don Shelton by that neighbor. And she was found near Hills Island Chute in a barrel. I think I have that photo also. I mean, look how this is the scariest thing you could imagine for yourself, for anybody that you've ever cared about, or even anybody in general. I mean, this is not right. Nobody should end up in a blue barrel on the side of a river. Like, what is that? If that doesn't give you chills, I don't know if anything ever will. There is a person inside of this barrel. And law enforcement is asking for anybody that finds any more barrels not to touch them, but to contact them immediately. They are looking for more victims. I mean, they are so lucky to have caught this guy. If she wouldn't have gotten away, there would have been more victims, many more. And I think there's already a handful, if not dozens. I mean, look at Gary Ridgway. I mean, this dude just didn't stop. He had hundreds of women he killed. This guy's willing to drive over 100 miles. Seems to be his anchor point. Hey, what's up, GP? Welcome in, GP, Doris, D. Who else is coming in? Did I get you, Jerry? Good to see you. Yeah, me too. I mean, I would like to be more social, but the thing is, you don't want to have to inherit anybody's bad habits. You make friends with Joe Schmo up the street. You know, next thing you know, he's got a coke habit or something. Who knows? Or you find out he's cheating on his wife, or I just don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I don't want to deal with any stress. I don't want to make any enemies because the type of person I am, I won't keep my mouth shut about anything. I have my morals. So it's just better that I stay to myself. Seems like everything is a conflict constantly. Yeah. 63 Clock says Sleuth speaks the truth, but it's sad that this is how our society has become. Yeah, it wasn't always like that. Like, it was dangerous. We had stranger danger when I was a kid. But I mean, I roamed free. I had a great childhood. My daughters will never will ever know anything like that. I mean, we ran from kidnappers, from the creepy van. I mean, I remember being chased as a little kid, and we thought it was funny. But the thing is, a lot of these predators, they're not in the tinted out rape van. They put on these weird personas and they catfish now and they lure. The case that we just covered recently with Sydney, she was Sydney Loof. She was lured by a dating app, right? But instead of being murdered on the date, she actually her the predator actually took her out on her date and tried to wine her and dine her, only to bring her back to the cult and offer her up to the creepy cult leader who called himself a vampire. See, so it's not just some creepy van creeping around the corner or hanging out, you know, watching through his binoculars. It's much, much more sophisticated nowadays. Let's go ahead and take a look at this Daily Mail article. This might be the only article we look at. It's just filled with facts about the case. Let's see. Titled Dehydrated, Bleeding, and Super Skinny Barefoot Woman Who Escaped a Missouri Sex Dungeon Looked Like She Came from a Horror Movie. Says nurse who helped to rescue her as cops investigate whether captor killed other women. I mean, what would you do if that happened? You're getting ready for work. You're walking out to your car and you see a woman in a trash bag with a collar and like something that was wrapped around her mouth. I think she was able to pull it down. I mean, honestly, what would you do? I know what I would do, but what would you do? I watched a video this morning of a kidnapping that took place at a gas station. You had a grown ass man pumping gas, and this tiny woman takes off running, runs right to him, asking him for help. And here comes her assailant, picks her up. She's kicking and screaming, and the guy doesn't do anything. He just lets her get kidnapped right in front of him. I couldn't believe it. Melissa says, I'm 46. So what's friends that's past tense in high school? Only one good friend have never seen. She's always working. Yeah, and then all your best friends, I had a little crew of people that I hung around with. When you look back at it, they really weren't that good of friends, right? As you get older, things seem to look a lot differently than the way you remember them. Don says, wasn't this guy kind of new to the area? I am not sure. He might be because I couldn't find him anywhere on there. I mean, I found the address. We know where he is, but yeah, you might be right about that. Maybe while going through all this information, we'll be able to answer that question. Sparky says, so sad, very sad. And I think the tragedy, this is only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, think about it. This guy had his young child in the same home where he had a murder dungeon. I mean, we're talking about straight out of a horror movie here. Leaving them in barrels. Like, that's something you would see on a Dexter episode. Like, that's like, I can't even wrap my mind around it. The fear. Yeah, I think that was a roller skating rink. Yeah, outside Kansas City. Let me pull up the map. Hold that thought. I thought I had it up, but I guess I didn't. Yeah, just outside of Kansas City, sorry. So there's Excelsior Springs right here. And here's Kansas City. So it's like a suburb. Nah, maybe it's too far, a little bit further out. And here is the Missouri River. If you follow it out this way, this is where she was found, I believe, right in this area. When I say she, I'm talking about Janie Crosdale, who was dumped in a blue barrel. Yeah, she might have been found right here. So I don't know if he took her all the way out here, or did she float? I don't know. Dora says, we're supposed to love one another. Hey, I love everybody. I'm going to love you from over here. If you need anything, holler. But, I don't want to talk about the weather. Let's go to Don. I think he was abducting them from Independence Avenue in KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri, a prostitution area. Let's see. I know the location. I can't remember the name. Hold on. I might have that info. Since you're local to the area, maybe you can give us information on this. There was an article I was reading that kind of lined it out. Not that one. I'm not familiar with the area, so I don't want to misquote it. But it was East something, so maybe it'll be in this article. Anyway, let's get reading on this. Okay, the sex slave held for a month in a basement torture dungeon with a metal collar tight around her neck frantically insisted to rescuers that her captor killed two of my friends, and now police have confirmed that detectives are taking the claim seriously and are actively investigating whether other women met their death at the hands of Missouri monster Timothy Haslett. The young woman, still bleeding from wounds caused by being whipped and restrained, seized her chance to escape the house of horrors when alleged captor Timothy Haslett, 39, took his son to school. She hurtled barefoot out of the rundown rental property in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, and fled 100 yards downhill along a street diagonally facing the home in a quiet part of the 10,000 strong community 30 miles from Kansas City. Fearfully crouching down, the emaciated 22-year-old approached the single-family home of nurse Lisa Johnson and softly uttered just two words, "Help me." Johnson, 41, who had been sitting inside by her front door getting ready for work at 7:40 a.m. on October 7th, heard the desperate plea. She looked out and saw the victim begin to crawl up the outside steps to the house she shares with city council worker husband Thomas, who is 37. It was such a soft help me. Johnson told dailymail.com, and I looked out through our clear screen door, and this girl was hunched along the steps. I could see immediately she was in desperate trouble. She looked like something out of a horror movie. She had a metal homemade device tight around her neck. There was duct tape that she had pulled down off her face, which had been covering her mouth. Her wrists and ankles were messed up. You could tell she had been tied and whipped. The wounds over her body, wrist, and ankles were actually bleeding. Johnson, who specializes in home health care, continued. She was wearing a very, very short black latex dress, turns out to be a trash bag, which appeared open up in places. You could plainly see what she had been through. And she was clearly dehydrated and very malnourished, super skinny. She was maybe no more than 70 pounds. Short hair, although not matted, not dirty. There were no tears. I honestly believe she was too dehydrated to produce them. When Johnson told the woman she was calling police, it sent the shudder down the victim's spine, even though she was desperately seeking sanctuary. She said, "If I called the cops, he would kill both of us," said Johnson. I said, "Who?" She said, "The guy up the street." She said he had been holding her, wouldn't let her go, and that he was going to kill her and had killed her two friends. By the time Johnson had come back out of her home after calling 911, she saw the terrified woman slipping away off her driveway to her next door neighbor. But she had no reason to lie about that, so I do believe her. And somewhere out there definitely could be more victims. The woman fled to the home of Sierra Tharp, 39, whose grandmother was looking after her young son. Grandma said she was sitting here and she heard a lady yelling, Tharp told dailymail.com. So she opened the door and the girl ran up and said, "You've got to help me. I've been held captive. I've been raped. You've got to help me. He's going to end up killing me." My grandma brought her in, wrapped a blanket around her, and went to get her some food and water. She was pretty hungry. And my grandma sat with her and held her until the police came. That was very nice of them to do that. Let me catch up on the chat real quick. Don, that's what I'm saying. He is such a quiet, nice guy. I've heard that before. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It reminds me of Richard Allen. They don't want attention. Sparky says, my membership thingy disappeared. It's right there. I don't know. Something was going on with Frank the other day, too. So I think it gets glitchy. Hey, speaking of Frank, what's up, Frank? 63 Clock says, I am so tired of victims of a certain demographic not getting the attention others get. It's not okay. You think that's what's going on in these cases? Marble says, my phone or Google's got hacked. I've been trying to recover my life. How'd that happen? What's going on? Anything I like? Welcome. Good to see you, Phil. Good to see you, Miss Thang. Thank you, Miss Thang. Hope you have a great day. Yeah, it's just like more problems, I think. I could just be, I don't know, cynical? I don't know if that's the right word. I know, Connie. Yeah, Cindy says people are scared to help. Yeah, I mean, that guy at the gas station, if he tries to help and gets killed, me, I don't care. You know, when I see somebody doing something like that to a woman, I know right away that they are a pussy. There's absolutely nothing to be scared of. Plus, I'm ready for whatever anyway. Hey, welcome in, Sarcastic Leo. And it doesn't help that home invasion perps will use the damsel in distress tactic. Yeah, that's scary. To gain entry. How does one continue to trust who is or isn't in true distress? No, even when I was younger, I worked with this guy, and he came in and he had all these like bruises and stuff. I was like, "Oh man, you got into a fight?" He's like, "No, man." He's like, "I got carjacked." It's like, "What do you mean you got carjacked? Somebody stole your car while you were driving?" He's like, "No." He was at his apartment, and some really pretty young girl knocked on his door and was asking for help. And as soon as he opened the door, some guys kicked in the door and pistol whipped him, and then took his keys to his brand new, I think it was a Monte Carlo. It was like a brand new, where they came out with that new design. It was like a retro looking thing. And he put rims on it and everything. Some guys came and took it from him, but they used a young girl to lure him to the door and to open the door. Welcome in, Jill. Yeah, unfortunately, you just can't. You can't do it. Evil is almost getting more and more acceptable. Since Custer was running. That's funny. Not cynical? I hope not. I don't want to be cynical. Tharp continued. The girl said he had kept her down in his basement, and when he left, she assumed to take his son to school. She opened up the door, she let his dog run out the door, and she just took off. She actually said the guy killed more than just two. She said it was her friends, but she wasn't clear if something happened to them up there at the house or wherever he got her from or elsewhere. Yeah, I couldn't find the details on that part. So I don't know. He could have been tormenting her, right? He's whipping her, he's beating her, and he's telling her, like, I killed your friends. Do you know such and such? Well, I killed that person. I have a feeling Rex Hewerman was doing shit like that. Maybe even showing like photographs or something from the crime scene or proof that they weren't joking around. It's scary. The girl is lucky to be alive. She got she's got to be so brave. Tharp said her grandmother, who does not want to be named publicly, revealed the woman was at times gasping for breath because the metal collar around her neck was so tight. That's scary. Imagine not being able to breathe and you're stuck that way for weeks. She was frantic. She said she had been in the house since early September. Wow. So almost an entire month she was held captive in this dungeon. My grandma said the facts never changed. What she told her was exactly what she told the officer. She told him exactly who did it, what house. Previously, Excelsior Springs police had said officially had no knowledge of any more victims. See, and this has the community in an uproar because I guess they did report Janie Crosdell missing. And they were denying the fact that they even had a missing report. So a lot of people are pissed off about that. But a spokesman has now told DailyMail.com exclusively, we are taking this accusation of 2 more women victims seriously and are actively investigating it. We would not go into further detail. Haslett is alleged to have picked up the woman from Prospect Avenue. So that's the location I was looking for, Don, because you said you're familiar with the area. So Prospect Avenue is where not only TJ, who had the collar, but that's where Janie Crosdale was picked up from, and also Phoenix and Kelly, not specifically in that area, but not too far away. Haslett is alleged to have picked up the women from the Prospect Avenue area of Kansas City. So, yeah, it is Kansas City, but it's the Prospect Avenue area. I think that's the question you were asking, right? So let me write that down before I forget. Prospect Avenue. The area notorious for prostitution. He was arrested on October 7th on his way back from taking his son to school in his gray Dodge Ram pickup truck. Cops hauled him in via a traffic stop on an unrelated animal control violation. After the victim had identified his home to officers. So I guess he's been reported multiple times for having a violent dog. So when he was getting arrested, most of his neighbors thought, hey, he must be finally getting arrested for the dog. But cops oftentimes will arrest you so that they can hold you for that crime while they're investigating something much more serious. The former railroad construction worker pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to first-degree rape, first-degree kidnapping, and second-degree assault. He made an appearance at Clay County Court via video link and is now being held on a $500,000 bond. An Excelsior Springs police probable cause statement said the victim, she was wearing latex lingerie and had a metal collar around her neck with a padlock. She advised Timothy had kept her in a small room in the basement that he had built. He kept her restrained in handcuffs on her wrists and ankles. That's terrifying. Now imagine all of these missing people. They could very well be in somebody's makeshift dungeon. Now, how do you go about finding out about something like that? This isn't the first time we've seen women break out of these dungeons and run into the arms of a stranger, right? Says here, upon entering the residence to clear it, Excelsior Springs police officers observed a room in the basement consistent with what the victim had described. Haslett has numerous firearms in his residence. The accused kidnapper married Lindsay Metcalf in 2013 in Independence, Missouri, but the couple divorced in February of 2016, according to records obtained by Daily Mail. Haslett had joint custody of his 8-year-old son and became the primary custodial parent. All right. For the sake of time, we're going to get moving on from that. Let me pull up some of these photos here. There's him with his boy. He's being framed. They're framing him. V. I've been fighting becoming cynical for a while now. We become harder as we age from all the bullshit we've encountered. Yep. And somebody was saying something the other day. Like a lot of men don't want to talk about things like trauma, things they've been through. But somebody was bringing up, like, is there something wrong with you because you're into true crime? Like, is it moral? And I was like, wow, that's a good question. Is it? Like, am I just feeding my dark side? It's a good question. But the truth is, we might just all be bonding over trauma. Trauma bonding. So I don't know. Thought it was a good question. Courtney. Oh, you said Prospect? Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of. Because Don said, yeah, probably Kansas City. There's a lot of that going on down there. And I was like, yeah, there's a specific part of Kansas City. Apparently, it is Prospect Avenue. Cindy says, I wondered if she created it in her head to keep herself sane. But now I feel like there were more, possibly many, that I fear won't really be investigated. They'll never talk about it. They'll never bring it up. Yes, Sleuth. Very similar to Independence Avenue, all inner city east side. Yeah, and that's also what I was looking for. In another article, they referred to it as the east side. So I was looking for east side and Prospect. Or maybe even it was just the east side I was looking for. But either way, we got it. So law enforcement, I mean, they built a fence around this, getting ready to investigate it for real. They knew they had something big here with this guy. Yeah, there was another story of a guy who lived all the way on the East Coast. He bought a home, he made sure it had a basement, and he built himself a dungeon. And then he catfished somebody all the way in California, drove to California, killed the entire family of his victim, and then took his victim back with him. Thank God he was caught on his way there, or this would have been just another case of somebody being a prisoner, a sex slave. Nobody would ever know. Nobody's going to hear you in that dungeon, right? And they just go about life. They go to their CVS job, and when they come in to print missing persons flyer, oh, it's on the house. I mean, these guys, they just don't have they don't have a conscience. No soul. Hey, Wanda from Missouri, didn't the victim say there were others, but they couldn't find evidence of others? Yeah, at first there was this whole controversy It's like as if they didn't want to believe her, but law enforcement said, "Hey, no, we're taking this very seriously and we're looking for." They ID'd one of these people. So when TJ was interviewed by police, she said, "There's other victims. This guy killed my friends." They were able to identify Janie Crosdell. Now, thank God they found her not too long after, or they probably would have never even been able to verify what was going on with this Timothy guy. But I think he's a serial killer. That's what I think. And look at all this wood right here. Wonder if that's what he was using to build his little room in the basement she was talking about. Bolingbrook, Illinois, where the cop Peterson supposedly killed her, but she still hasn't been found. Hey, Saska, what's up? And I do remember this case. I went quiet, which was equally shocking given the accusations against him. Yeah, I don't understand all of that. What's going on, Boston Christian? Celestial? I think it's just human nature to watch true crime. I'm intrigued by the criminal mind and what makes people tick. Yeah, me too. And a lot of it is to know your enemy. I think it's important, the art of war and all of that kind of stuff. I look at these people as my enemy. The worst thing I could think of was anything happening to my family, and these are the kind of people that I'm up against. Trying to get a psychological profile. Yeah, awareness too. So curiosity, awareness, not immoral. I don't think it's immoral. I think some people are in it for the wrong reasons. It's kind of like these YouTube channels where they're like, where it's like 666 and they're like into all the dark stuff about it, the whole faces of death part. They like the gory, they're cheering for the bad guy. They're sending love letters to serial killers in jail. You know what I mean? Like, what the? So, yeah, I think there is an immoral side of it all. But I guess that's true for anything, right? 1 out of 10, baby. 1 out of 10. That's the rule. Okay, let's blow through some of this local media because I didn't realize we're already at the hour mark. Let me know if you can hear this.
On October 7th,
Well, the thing is, let's go to this question or this comment here by Wanda. How he managed to keep this hidden from his son shows a true side of evil to be that secretive and sneaky that left people clueless of what he was going on. Now, what if it was much worse than that? What if he didn't hide it from his son? Imagine being an 8-year-old and you're sitting there and you're talking with your friend at recess and he's telling you about the prisoner in your dad's dungeon. Like you would think he was playing around. Oh yeah, we're gonna go home later, and then after my dad's done with his prisoner and done done messing around in his dungeon. We're going to go play catch. The little kid's going to be like, what? So maybe he didn't hide it from him. Maybe he just told him, don't ever talk about it. Imagine that. That's true. Interesting to me that the largest percentage of true crime viewers are female. According to the analytics, my YouTube analytics, it's 40-60. 60% female and 40% male. And the majority of my viewers are over the age of 35. Hiawatha, good to see you. How have I not heard of this case? That's what I'm saying. Somebody brought up the fact that the victims were black females, and that's the reason they're kind of brushing it under the rug. I don't know the studies behind that. I'm not sure if that's the reason why. I didn't even consider that. But yeah, it could be. I mean, this is a crazy case and nobody's talking about it. All the victims are black. So that is a little suspicious. That's a good way to put it, Sparky. We are weirdo aware. And I don't seem to be annoying my wife with it because I'm constantly pointing things out. Like the other day, I was talking about truckers, starting to see an increase of truckers parking in our neighborhood, just to spend the night. And I mean, if I was a trucker, I would do the same thing. But of course, I see it and I notice it. We're on our daily, our morning walk, and I'm talking about statistics and things like that about the homicides and the victims that are discovered on our highways throughout the United States. It's very scary. So I was just asking her, like, what do you see there? She's like, what? I see a truck. I see a big truck. It's kind of like that question from that movie, The Great Outdoors, when they're sitting out on the porch and they're looking out on the looking out at the lake. And he says, well, what do you see? He goes off on all, he sees a huge industrial park in front of him. And then he asks Chet, he says, what do you see? He goes, I see trees, just lots of trees. But it was kind of like that. I was like, well, what do you see? She sees a truck. Me, I'm seeing statistics, right? About truck drivers and unsolved murders, over 500 on our highways. And the majority of suspects are long haul truck drivers. That was my answer to her. Boss. Yeah, every once in a while. We have like these long stretches of road where you're allowed to park. And they kind of sneak in there at night. And then in the morning, they just skirt back out. And honestly, I would do the same thing if I was a truck driver. I'd try to avoid those truck stops. I don't know if you've seen any of those YouTube videos, but they're always like trying to lock their doors. Like, what the hell? You guys are sleeping? You got people trying to break into your trucks? It's terrifying. Everybody's always like, well, I got a gun. I don't know if you've ever been in a gunfight. It's not always that easy. The other guy might have a gun too, and it might shoot a lot more bullets at you than yours shoots at them. Boston says the FBI just put out another report on that. Yeah, we should do a recap on that video we did on that. It's very scary. Welcome in, Grizz. I'm not sure I've ever seen a black person in my life, but I have seen 100 shades of brown. I don't know if I've even seen a white person. Never seen a red person. Never seen a yellow person. Well, I did see a guy with jaundice once. He was all yellow. Good to see you, Grizz. Courtney, hey, check out Truckers Against Trafficking. I was involved with a while ago. Lots of truckers save people. Yeah, well, lots of truckers kill people too. Not saying truckers are bad. I'm not saying all truckers are serial killers, but all serial killers are truckers. All right. I think we might have time for a few more of these videos because I do want to look at Phoenix Calden and Kelly Allen just briefly.
Arrested. Timothy Haslett Jr. is facing rape, kidnapping, and assault charges in Clay County, accused of locking up a woman for weeks. Newly released court documents say the victim, a 22-year-old woman, escaped while Haslett brought his child to school Friday. She ran for help, wearing only a trash bag with a metal collar and duct tape around her neck. Those documents say she was handcuffed, whipped, beaten, and raped while locked in a small room in his basement for weeks. Haslett had his first day in court today in Liberty. Our cameras weren't allowed inside, but a judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf, adding that Haslett would get a public defender. And tonight, we have exclusive video of that arrest. KMBC 9's Jackson Kurtz is live in Excelsior Springs. And Jackson, you talked to the man who made the 911 call leading to that arrest.
We did, and he filmed that video just inside his home, just a couple doors down from when that arrest happened. You can still see outside the home, they still have that police line tape up and cage outside of the entire home. Just one look, and
well, the part that bothers me is that they have a handful of missing women from around this area, and they got a guy with all the telltale signs of a serial killer, right? Are they following up on this? Are they still investigating this? What are they doing with this case? They could have a handful of solved murders right at their fingertips. Reminds me a whole lot of Rex Heuermann.
It gives me the chills. I just can't imagine what went inside of that house.
Everardo Miranda, who lives a couple doors down from Timothy Haslett, filmed the moments Haslett was taken into custody.
I could have never imagined that happened here in Excelsior Springs.
In the exclusive video to Channel 9, Miranda thought Haslett was being arrested after calling police because of complaints about the dog.
Oh man, I felt bad because they took him to jail for the dog, and I go to sleep and I wake up to find out this crazy thing happened just right next door to us.
Miranda says he rarely saw Haslett, only to let the dog in and outside, and never saw the woman who
That's
ran
why
for
we're
help.
covering
What
it today.
that woman went through, my heart breaks for her. Hopefully he rots in jail. He should not see sunlight ever again. Hopefully things get better around here, and I'm trusting the police officers around here to keep us secure.
The guy has a good attitude.
Investigators spent today looking for evidence in the death of Janie Crosdale. Her remains were found inside a barrel along the Missouri River last week. Police say Crosdale was a witness in their case against Timothy Haslett, who's accused of kidnapping and raping a different woman last fall. KSHB 41 investigator Sarah Plake was there. She brings us up to speed on the case.
We're at the Missouri River in Waverly, Missouri. This is where Clay County prosecutors joined Missouri Highway Patrol out on the river, going 8 miles down this way to Hills Island Chute. And that's where 2 kayakers found the remains of Janie Crosdale. They're out here today to familiarize themselves with the area and to see if there's any other potential evidence.
Crosdale had been missing for months. Excelsior Springs police say she and Timothy Haslett had contact before she went missing. They were trying to find her to see what information she had on Haslett's current case, where he's charged with assaulting, kidnapping, and raping a young woman who escaped from his home last October. Now, Excelsior Springs police say Haslett could be a suspect in Crosdale's death. Since she was found in a blue barrel, they're trying to match it to evidence pulled off of Haslett's property. The prosecutor says they're also on the lookout for more barrels.
I don't want to speculate about what that could mean for the case, but if you are around the Missouri River, please, if you see a barrel, contact law enforcement.
Highway Patrol says they've received multiple tips. They've already been out here to search, but they say if anybody has any other information or any other tips, do not hesitate to call it in. In Waverly, Missouri, I'm Sarah Plake, KSHB.
Man, I don't know if I could live in Missouri and not pass a river without looking for a blue barrel. Well, police were calling her a witness, but really she was just another victim that they thought could have been a witness. right? And that's another thing that seems very disrespectful. Like this woman just told you, you just found her with a collar around her neck, wearing a trash bag, whipped, right? And she's telling you that a man killed the rest of her friends, and you don't believe her? There's part of that that's really annoying to me. Now, imagine if they wouldn't have found her. They weren't supposed to find her. They didn't find any of his other victims. I guarantee this man is a serial killer. They were not supposed to find Janie Crosdale. They are lucky to have found her. No, we're not wrapping up. We're just going to go into the second half. I know we're wrapping up, but there's another girl, I think she was 17, maybe from Liberty, left with the Shady Man drug situation, but was last seen in this area, I think. Yeah, we have another hour here, but the hours will fly by. They claim Stacy Peterson is in a blue barrel near Bolingbrook, Illinois. Imagine stuffing a human body in a barrel. You're like, okay, I'm done with that part. Let's go to the river now. How does this happen? How does this happen? And the scary part about all of this is that it happens all of the time. It is happening right now. So I don't give a shit if I'm paranoid. I'm glad that I'm paranoid. I think it's more than paranoid. I'm a big believer, a firm believer in situational awareness. I mean, how do you shove a human person into a blue barrel? How do you do that? Or these folks that do the dismemberment? Sarcastic. A few months back, I hear a report of a couple escaped prisoners in Missouri. I messaged my kid to be aware. A few hours later, she tells me she was on that property prior to escaped prisoner who stole a truck from there. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, this world is not as big as you think. And if you have a bad feeling, act on it. What's the worst? They're going to go, man, you're paranoid. That's it. It's not going to be the first time we've heard it, right? But how many times have you been paranoid and you're damn glad that you were? That's the reason I'm the way I am, because a lot of times I've been right and it's been very helpful.
Tonight in a rape and kidnapping case in Excelsior Springs, Janie Crosdale was found dead along the Missouri River, and police wanted to talk to her about Timothy Haslett Jr., who faces 9 felonies. Investigative reporter Matt Fleener is along the water tonight with new details in the case.
There are big questions tonight about why the remains of
100%.
a woman here in Kansas City were found about 100 miles downriver. News Chapter 9. Over the area, the Missouri Highway Patrol says kayakers found the remains of Janie Crosdale.
Yeah, I think the barrel was like somewhere right there in this area.
On this island,
or maybe even on this side over here.
County, Missouri. Crosdale's face was on billboards across the metro earlier this year. Police said she may have known more about a 22-year-old woman escaping the home of Timothy Haslett Jr. last year. That woman told police she was raped and tortured for weeks inside Haslett's home.
So many people dropped the ball.
Bishop Tony Caldwell last year called attention to several missing women in Kansas City's east side, saying police could have done more to find those women. The original survivor in the case telling police a man named Timothy picked her up along Prospect Avenue.
So many people just, I don't want to see it, I want to hear it, literally. A lot of people just wanted to ignore it.
The fact that she was a potential witness in the case that's pending against him, they're going to look at him hard.
Meanwhile, attorney John Pacerno says the discovery of Crosdale's remains allows police to ask new questions of Haslett.
The defendant is a good source of incriminating information. He may have something in his house or something on his phone that would implicate him.
To be clear, there are no new charges against Haslett, but prosecutors.
he eventually he is charged with her murder, and we're going to go through all those charges and everything. Let's go to Mark Craven here. Says, my daughter, who is a narcotics detective here in South Florida, just got promoted into the violent crimes division. Congratulations. Which will lead to homicide. She will soon be, so she's going to be a homicide detective. Very interesting. So you're going to have some stories to tell, Mark.
Prosecutors do say they continue to seek justice not only for the original survivor, but Miss Crosdale as well. Matt Fleener came.
Okay, I do have a couple more videos. Let me see. I only have time for maybe one more. So yeah, it says here, Timothy Haslett eventually indicted on 9 felony charges. So that includes the kidnapping and also, I believe, the murder of Janie Crosdale. Let's listen to the prosecutor. This is a press conference.
Good afternoon. My name is Zach Thompson, and I'm the prosecuting attorney for Clay County, Missouri. I want to begin by saying my thoughts and prayers go out to those affected by this case. Today, the grand jurors of Clay County, Missouri indicted the defendant, Timothy Marion Haslett, on 9 felony counts. In count 1, rape in the first degree. In counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, sodomy in the first degree. In count 6, kidnapping in the first degree. In count 7 and 8, assault in the second degree. And in count 9, endangering the welfare of a child. The judge has set the defendant's bond at $3 million. The case will be heard next on February 17th at 9 o'clock in Division 4 of the Clay County Courthouse. If the defendant is found guilty of all of these offenses, he faces up to 5 life sentences and 36 years incarceration in the Missouri Department of Corrections. The defendant is presumed innocent until he's found guilty in a court of law.
Right.
The charge of an offense is not evidence of guilt. We would not be here today if not for the...
Well, if he's presumed innocent, they better let him go then, right? Until it's time for the trial. It's ridiculous.
Bravery of one woman and the tireless efforts of the men and women of 16 different agencies. They are the Excelsior Springs Police Department, the Clay County Sheriff's Office, the Gladstone Police Department, the Liberty Police Department, the North Kansas City Police Department, Smithville Police Department, the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, the FBI.
That's terrifying. Let's go to Wanda's comment here. There was a trucker and friend who killed a woman, filmed it while gutting her like a deer. They both pled guilty to avoid trial and death penalty. They used to case Walmart for victims. That's scary. There you go. There you have it.
The Heart of America Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Missouri Information Analysis Center, the Missouri Department of Conservation, Missouri State Technical Assistance Team, Missouri Search and Rescue, the Ray County Sheriff's Office, and the Department of Homeland Security. These public servants have followed up on over 100 separate leads. They have sought and obtained search warrants and investigative subpoenas. Collectively, they have spent over 1,200 hours investigating this case. Nevertheless, the investigation continues. If you or anyone you know has information related to this case, please contact the Excelsior Springs, Missouri Police Department or the TIPS hotline. If you or anyone you know has information concerning the whereabouts of potential witness Janie Crosdale, please contact the Excelsior Springs Police Department or the TIPS hotline. Because
let's go to this comment here by Mark. In my opinion, they will find a lot more on this guy. I was thinking that exact same thing. I think down the road, we're going to hear more about this case. I think they're going to find more of his victims.
This indictment is now public information. If anyone present would like an electronic copy, they can contact our office. I will also be providing a copy of a release from the Excelsior Springs Police Department that contains instructions about how someone with information about the whereabouts of potential witness Janie Crosdale can contact law enforcement. This is an open case. This is an ongoing investigation. I am very limited about what I can discuss. I can say that in Missouri, the proceedings of a grand jury are private and cannot be discussed in public under state law. I can also say that a grand jury's job is to determine if there's enough information available for a case to move forward. With that being said, I can answer a few questions.
Sir, are all these charges for the one victim or are there multiple victims?
So the information available will be on the indictment, and it will answer your question as to whether or not there is more than one victim.
Can you tell us, just go ahead and tell us down?
In count 9, there's endangering the welfare of a child.
So that child may be a victim as well.
So what I can say is that the charge of
So careful.
of guilt, there is in count 9 information that the state is alleging that the defendant is guilty of the endangering the welfare of a child, unrelated to the previous counts.
Is there more reason this is ongoing and that there has been, hours and hours of investigation that has gone into this? I think one thing that's on many community members' minds is, at this point, with the investigation to this point, do you believe there are other victims in this case, other than what's in the grand jury?
So my goal in this whole process is to get justice for those affected by the case and for our community.
Okay, so he doesn't know if there's other people involved, right? There could be, there may not be. But let's say there is, right? Maybe Timothy has some friends when they're coming over to the dungeon, or they have their own dungeon, for all we know. If he says, yes, we think there's other victims, well, they're going to start hiding evidence. They're going to go possibly move the victims from wherever they dump them. I hate the word dump, but I mean, that is the actual term. And it's going to make their job a lot harder. So you got to kind of look at Nick McClelland the same way you would look at this guy. Maybe even with a little more, I don't know, empathy maybe, because I believe that he's convinced when it comes to the Delphi case that there are others involved. Here, he's, in the back of his mind, it's just a what if. So it's a little bit different.
In order to do that, I have to protect the integrity of the process, so I cannot comment on the details of an ongoing investigation in an open case.
Why are you so passionate about this case? Why has this case caused you to come out and have a press conference?
This case, like any other in Clay County, is one where we seek to get justice.
He wants
for
to
our
just
community
say,
members.
this guy's a damn
In this
serial
case,
killer.
We felt it was important to let the public know about the indictment of Timothy Haslett.
You mentioned the one grade woman who brought this information forward has been helpful, in bringing these charges. Do we know about, her current well-being? Has she been in contact with the prosecutor's office to be able to assist them?
So I can't comment about the details of the prosecution. I can say that it is our goal to achieve a justice in this case.
Do you believe Ms. Crosdale was a victim as well?
So we believe, based on the way the investigation is going so far, that she may have information relevant to the case. And that's all I can say about that.
She's a victim right now.
I know that the Excelsior Springs Police Department put out a press release asking for anyone with information about her whereabouts to contact law enforcement. Law enforcement to this point has not had contact with.
Okay, so let's say they never found Janie Crosdale. She's just a missing person and potentially a witness. That's it. I don't know. There seems something very divine about the fact that they found her.
So we are asking that the public help us with any information they have about her whereabouts.
Is there an official missing persons report for her?
That would be a question for the investigation aspect of that.
Are any other witnesses like Ms. Crosdale being actively sought at this time?
I can't comment on the details of the investigation beyond what I've said already about if anyone with information about Ms. Crosdale's whereabouts to please contact Excelsior Springs Police Department. And that being said, if anyone has any further questions, please submit them to my public information officer, Mr. Higginbotham. He's right over there. You can send him an email and we'll do.
Okay, let's see what else. Okay, I think that pretty much covered all those facts. Here's a statement from Haslett, part of it anyway. Couldn't get my hands on all the documents, but somebody was kind enough to post this little snippet. It says here, to support this claim, I will first offer my present detainment as a sufficient barrier of protection from physical harm. If such a threat even existed, I am certainly being held on a $500,000 bond and have no intention of attempting to seek relocation, seek reduction of posting said bond as I have no assets to do so. He writes in capitals. It's really weird. And for anecdotal evidence, let me personally say that I would never, ever harm my son. My son is my only purpose for life. I love him more than words can describe. It breaks my heart that I'm not there for him right now as I should be. But the mere accusation or belief by anyone that I would, and then it kind of cuts off right there. Okay, let's start with some of these surrounding cases. Let's start with Kelly Allen. This was a pretty decent article. Kelly Allen was visiting a friend when she disappeared in 2007. Oops. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Sometimes if you zoom in all the way, it'll kick the ads off to the side. There we go. So there's a good picture of her. Really pretty eyes. Great smile. Nursing student Kelly Allen was visiting one of her female friends in Berkeley, Missouri on March 13th. The 20-year-old had much to look forward to as she spent a few days at her friend's apartment. On the day she disappeared, Kelly reportedly went to a job interview that turned out to be successful, and she scheduled a second interview by the end. She also had her $2,000 tax refund check and her purse, a nice chunk of change that has gone untouched. According to reports, Kelly Allen first went to her friend's house on March 7th. On the 13th, Kelly's friend left for work the morning, and all seemed well with the nursing home caregiver. Sorry, I need a drink of water. The friend claims she spoke with Kelly during the day and they planned on meeting back up at home later. However, when the friend arrived at her apartment, Kelly was missing. What aided in the mystery surrounding the circumstances is that Kelly's personal items, including a $2,000 check, were all left behind. Everything seemed to be in order aside from Kelly Allen not being there. Since 2007, Kelly's family had continued their tireless search for the young student. TV One reports that Kelly's cousin Cody believed he once saw Kelly on a train. That's suspicious. He took a photo of the unknown woman, but authorities still can't determine if the picture is of Kelly. Like many families, Kelly's loved ones hold out hope that she will return home alive. Here's the flyer. Date of birth, December 4th, 1986. March 13th, 2007 is when she went missing. You can call 800-843-5674 if you have information. At the time of her disappearance, Kelly Allen was described as being 5 feet 4 inches tall and approximately 160 pounds. She had brown hair. You know what's strange is that's the same exact physical description of Janie Crosdale, like to a T. She had brown hair and micro braids and hazel eyes. Kelly had multiple tattoos, a rose on her left shoulder, 2 brown eyes on her left shoulder, and a half moon behind her left ear. Both of her ears are pierced. She didn't drink alcohol or smoke. Kelly was last seen wearing a blue blazer, apple bottom blue jeans, and silver sparkly shoes. Anyone with information regarding this case is urged to contact the Berkeley Police Department at 314-524-3311. So that was Kelly Allen. I thought that was very similar. Let's look at another case not too far from where this all happened. Phoenix Calden. I think I'm saying that right. You guys all know I struggle with last names. All right, let's pull this one up. I'll zoom in. What the hell is this? Oh, it's an advertisement. Might have to wait for that to clear. December 6th, 2023 is when this was published. Phoenix Calden. This might just be an actual video on it. Let's see.
Search for their daughter who disappeared 2 years ago today. Phoenix Calden was 23 at the time and a junior studying at UMSL. She left home on a Sunday afternoon. Her black Chevy Blazer was found 2.5 hours later on a vacant lot in East St. Louis. The engine was running and her purse was inside. Today, her father and a family friend came to 9th Street in St. Clair to offer prayers.
Didn't even take her purse.
Return.
My plea is that if anyone who has Phoenix, would they please let her come home? Just let her come home and be done with it. That is my plea today.
We've got young lady's life who's at stake, and she still has a chance to have that restored. And so if you do the right thing, God respects that, people respect it.
Anyone with information about Phoenix Calden is asked to contact the St. Louis County Police or Crime Stoppers. There is a reward of up to $1,000.
Very similar. So, I mean, I hope they're looking into this the best that they can. Because in my opinion, I think they are 100% dealing with a serial killer. I mean, the guy had a torture dungeon. How many torture dungeons are there across this country with actual missing people in them right now as we speak? Cindy, the want. That's funny. It's like a whole lot of lawyer speak. You ask a question and they look up. No, everything is in a courtroom for them, as it should be, because maybe one day it will be. What's up, Brad, from outside of the grid? Welcome in, my friend. Take care, Mark. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Thank you for participating. Congratulations to your daughter. And I look forward to all of these true crime stories that you may or may not hear. She may not want to talk about it, right? Let's go ahead and pull up. I think I bookmarked Janie's Facebook, and then we got to get out of here. So this looks like the last post here, December 5th. Last photo posted anyway. December 2020. So post here says, "Hey you. Yes, you. Calm down. God's got this. Stop stressing. Quit tripping. Calm down and relax." Family members, "Hey cousin." Carolyn says, "Hey." All right, guys, what do you think? What do you think about all of this? Don, great live. Glad you're bringing attention to these ladies. I mean, there's nothing. There was a little bit of update on the movement on his trial and what was going on, because originally he pled not guilty. But that is it. So, I mean, this guy could be responsible for a lot of missing people out there. I mean, you would have to say at least another one or two, right? I mean, the dude had a dungeon with his kid in the home. It's a handful of folks missing from that area. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's True Crime in the Morning. If you could, please share this live stream, like the video, subscribe, become a member, all those good things. But I do appreciate everybody who participated in the chat. If you're part of the replay crew, let me know what you think about today's live stream and all of the details and the cases that we went over today. Janie Crosdale, Phoenix Calden, Kelly Allen, and Timothy Haslett. right, you guys be safe out there. Until next time, peace.